This is about the business payments decision between Celero and Basis for Kashmir Valley Bank. We're going to talk about strategy, competition, risk, analytics, and the bigger opportunity. Kashmir Valley Bank has done very well in its chosen markets. The management team has made it a high-performing bank by carefully picking customers and supporting those customers' needs. Kashmir Valley Bank wishes to have business payments, merchant services, as part of an overall treasury value for business customers, including the business payment processing of debit and credit cards for money coming into business customers to integrate with all of the other capabilities the bank offers for money coming in or money going out. I believe Kashmir Valley Bank has the opportunity not to be a low-price competitor, but rather to continue the community bank advantage of helping the business customers be successful, and with merchant services to protect and generate the most profit for those business customers. Both competitors, Celero and Basis, offer a non-exclusive arrangement, which is to the bank's advantage. They both have Fiserv First Data processing as well as TSYS. Competition is especially strong in merchant services. Some people feel it's very cutthroat. One of the best competitors, one that has quite a share of the market of existing Kashmir Valley Bank business deposit customers, goes by the name of Heartland. They were recently acquired in the last year or two. And a couple of their great advantages are they're extremely well presented, simple to understand statements for the merchants, founded on the principle of the Payments Bill of Rights issued many years ago by Heartland. One of the weaknesses of Heartland, though, in a sense, is that they do not partner with agent banks. They only sell with their own sales force and their own support staff. Square, on the other hand, is one of the entry-level competitors. Their main advantage is for newer businesses. They have a single but fairly large cost, and they seem to turn their heads away from the issues of allowing surcharges. So their single large cost, over 3.5%, can be offset by their business customers if the customer is willing to kind of skirt the rules and basically collect that charge, the Square charge, through a surcharge. One of their biggest weaknesses, though, is at the least provocation, the least amount of chargebacks and risks. Square is famous for holding the merchants' money, which in this day and age, of course, can be a terrible risk for any small or growing merchant. And finally, every other merchant, many of them because First Data has such huge market share, the First Data statement, even though logo branded for Kashmir Valley Bank, is no particular advantage. And I suggest that the bank consider adding value every month beyond the standard First Data statements. Celero has pointed out or proposed that Kashmir Valley Bank faces a very real risk, 6 to 12 to 15% loss of the existing customers through a migration to another competitor like Basis. Basis, on the other hand, because Kashmir Valley Bank owns the accounts, and most of them, if not all, at the time of a potential conversion to Basis, will all be on First Data. They have a very simple kind of flip the switch edit with Fiserv First Data that will simply move the accounts over to Basis. So they propose that there's minimal risk of loss, minimal impact on the customers, and relatively little impact on Kashmir Valley Bank. In doing a financial comparison highlight, just at a very superficial level, I use the Altman Z-score, and they have a private company version. And as you can see with the Celero financials that we got and the Basis financials, I took a cut at comparing the two companies. Some interesting things jump out. Number one, Celero, having recently gone through a merger, on the balance sheet they have a huge amount of goodwill. And so I made an approximate adjustment, taking the goodwill out. So the first two columns are both Celero 2019, one with and one without the goodwill. Basis, on the other hand, provided us with both 2018 and 2019 numbers in their financials. And as you can see, the impact of the new building certainly affected the Altman Z-score for Basis, but even with that effect, their financials look very strong within the range of the healthy company band. Celero, on the other hand, looks more risky financially. Certainly, if you take the goodwill out, it looks pretty weak. To go back in history a little bit, when Kashmir Valley Bank initially started with Elmhurst, they had an exclusive arrangement with Chase Payment Tech. And unfortunately, Chase decided to get out of the business, and that left kind of the overhang of some customers with terminals that would not work with the Fiserv First Data or TSYS platforms that Celero and Elmhurst now offer. That resulted in really a $25,000 terminal replacement charge that Elmhurst has undertaken, they say, on behalf of the bank. My suggestion is the bank didn't pick Elmhurst's exclusive strategy with Payment Tech, and neither did the bank's customers. So I think it's not unreasonable to expect Celero and Elmhurst to bear the cost of those terminal changes due to their faulty strategy. Analytics and the metrics and the reporting are a key part of making a new program effective and essential. The bank basis points, which is very low today, we'll look at the details that Celero provided, come into play when we evaluate the two different revenue models. Celero and Elmhurst offer a buy rate model, and Basis offers a revenue share model. So the question for the bank in this decision is which model can produce the best outcome for the bank and its customers. And I'll talk about what that opportunity might be, and we should consider which type of revenue approach gives your partner the most incentive to help the bank and the customers. Now, one of the issues is the information provided by Celero today. One of the key performance indexes is simply the bank basis points, meaning the amount of bank income related to the total sales volume processed for the businesses. And unfortunately, on the monthly reports, The calculation is flawed because Celero uses only the Visa MasterCard sales in the calculation of that BPS, while on an ongoing basis, the bank will want to see the bank income divided by total net sales of the customers. Here's what I mean. The top of this slide shows part of an exhibit provided by Celero during the virtual tour presentation. The bottom half of this slide is a capture from the year-to-date totals from the agent detail report provided by Celero, and as you can see, the volume shown in the exhibit on their slide is actually the year-to-date sales from their detail report, which, as I mentioned before, is only the Visa and MasterCard signature volumes. And the other thing wrong with using that in this analysis, in this comparison, is the reality is it's the net sales, the year-to-date net sales, plus all the way over on the right-hand column of the bottom part, you'll see there's another 8,642,000 of non-bank card net sales. So the oval circled amount is actually what should be shown on this year-to-date total volume, 91 million, not 83 million. And it does make a difference if we use the profit to the bank of the 221,000 against the 91 million. You'll see the actual basis points return to the bank is actually only 24 basis points, considerably lower than the calculated 27 basis points using the incorrect number. Now this was the second part of that slide they provided, and there are a lot of problems with the opportunity segment here. The math on the very bottom just doesn't work out. How can you have a 76 basis point return on 330? It's just a poorly constructed element of this slide. I'll show you how we might look at the opportunity in a more strategic way near the end of the presentation. Now the good news is that core integration is proceeding for both these vendors. Celero has stated that they're working directly with Jack Henry, and Basis has also disclosed they are working with Jack Henry on core integration of the information related to these merchant services with the business accounts. To me, this is the opportunity, the kind of opportunity the bank should consider in turning this into a strategic part of their treasury services. Today, at 24 basis points, with about 200 accounts, you're handling about $85 million in year-to-date net sales, total net sales. Actually, that's 91 million. Now, I think you've got to set stretch goals to really make this worthwhile, but the good news is if you can increase the penetration of your own business deposit customer base over the next 3 years, fairly substantially on the right there, going from 200 to 400 to 600 to 800 customers, perhaps including brand new customers, you could also with the proper strategies and sales approach, I believe, substantially increase the total amount of net sales, as well as the basis point return to the bank. And it's not unheard of to think that you might almost double the 24 basis points you're at now to get to 40 or above. If you increase the total sales by going at more and more important customers and increase the basis points, the reality is you'll turn this business from a $200,000 a year business into a $2 million a year business, a 10x improvement. Now, that's a stretch. It's tough. It's going to take a real competitive strategy and real resources to achieve that. You might do better. You might do worse.